Hi guys, and welcome to the Roxy Horror Picture Show. So today we're going to talk about Woodlawn House and the Trench family. So Woodlawn House is a period mansion that is 30,000 square foot, 50 rooms and 400 windows. It is a monstrosity of a oak. It was built in the late 1800s by Frederick Trench, who was the first man to bear the name Baron of Ashdown. Now this house, or mansion as you call it, is so big and so grand that you'd nearly have to step a quarter mile away to actually get the full effect of this house, or to even see it as a whole. And as for the Trenches, they continue to be a very prominent family in Galway, and the house even stayed in their family up until the 20th century. Now, as grand as Woodlawn was, back in 1860, it was remodelled by Frederick's son, the second Baron of Ashton, who married Elizabeth Oliver Gascoigne. I had to think of her name there for a minute. But yeah, I can't even talk. Elizabeth Oliver Gascoigne. Now, during this time, they did build a railway station to ensure a line went through the estate. Now, while it did stay in the Trench family throughout the generations, it was eventually sold in 1947 by the fourth Baron of Ashdown. Now, by the time he sold it, the house was in complete disrepair towards the end of the 20th century, which should give Woodlawn the rep of a haunted house. With Woodlawn now derelict, the windows boarded up, empty halls, echoes of creaking walls, loose and missing floorboards, it literally looks like the perfect set for any horror film. It's so sad. But when you look into the actions of the Trench family, there is no surprise to the house being haunted. So there was a strong resentment fostered among the tenants, who was thrown up by the Trenches in order to clear the land, and a general lack of respect for the family existed at large. They treated their tenants and cattle grazers as slaves, and the Trenches continued to disregard the people of Woodlawn until they were ran out and the original 11,000 acres of land. 11,000 acres, lads. It was broken up to accommodate the 200 families and the farms. Now, the Trenches and their maids stayed in opposite ends of the house. The Trenches side was very, very spacious, very, very grand, very luxurious. Whereas the maid side was completely different. They all stayed in these really confined, cramped, terrible conditions. Now, they also had a lot of grand guests, a lot of lords, and a lot of them treated the staff terribly. They would abuse them, they would sexually abuse them. There was a guest there, Benjamin Franklin. Now, when Benjamin was there, he openly spoke about how disgusted he was by the way the Trenches treated, spoke to, and abused the maids. He witnessed it and he thought it was absolutely disgusting. Unfortunately, the other guests, they were exactly like the Trenches. They got to the stage where they were actually going down to the other side of the house to the young, beautiful maids. They would rape them and abuse them, and unfortunately some became pregnant. Now, the ones that became pregnant, the babies were either bet out of them, or as soon as they had them, they were taken away or smothered. Now, unfortunately, that did cause a lot of suicides from the maids. They couldn't, basically, it's disgusting. I mean, imagine that happening to you. You wouldn't be able to deal with life. And unfortunately, these poor maids wasn't. And it's their very souls that apparently haunt this mansion to this day. Now, when it comes to the haunting of that mansion, I don't know if you guys know that film, the old indie film, The Blair Witch Project. Well, the directors and the actors came to visit Ireland, and they were travelling all around Ireland, and they were staying in all the haunted places. Now, they stayed in Woodlawn House. They didn't stay the full night. They weren't able to. And they even said themselves that there was something so eerie and so spooky that it was easily the most haunted house in Ireland. The Blair Witch Project. That is absolutely insane. Now, the land and everything of that house to this day is still open to walk free, but the house itself is boarded up. There is no entrance at all. You can't get in, unfortunately. I'd love to get in just to see it, because the pictures that they had up they looked amazing. Even just to go and see that house, it'll be crazy. The fact that it's so big. Now, a lot of people are skeptical about these things, so it's up to yourself to believe whether the house is haunted or not. But the fact that even the Blair Witch and a lot of other ghost adventures, I suppose, I don't know what you call them, but a lot of investigators, investigators, have said that they've never been able to stay a full night in that house is absolutely crazy. It's something I'd like to experience myself, but unfortunately we can't. Now, that is the story of Woodlawn. I couldn't get much more information about it, to be honest, when I was looking it up. But I got enough to know that I'd love to get into that place. But like I said, unfortunately, I can't. Until next week, guys, thanks a million for tuning in, and I'll see you next Friday. Bye.